Flora Shaw and the Name of a Nation. In the late 1800s, when the British Empire stretched across much of the world, a young woman named Flora Shaw was quietly making history with her pen rather than a sword. Born in 1852 in England, Flora grew up curious about politics, travel, and the way nations were shaped. At a time when few women were taken seriously in journalism, she became a writer for the Times of London, one of the most powerful newspapers of the era. Flora's work focused on Africa, a continent that European powers were competing to control. She studied maps, reports, and letters from colonial officers, trying to understand the vast lands along the West African coast. One region in particular caught her attention, the area around the river Niger. This land was home to many different peoples, languages, and kingdoms, including the Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo, and many others. Though rich in culture and history, Europeans often spoke of the region as if it were just an empty space on a map. In 1897, while writing an article for the Times, Flora faced a problem. British-controlled territories along the Niger River had no single simple name. To solve this, she combined two words, Niger and area. In her article, she referred to the land as Nigeria. At the time, it seemed like a small editorial decision, just a convenient label for readers back in Britain. But that single word would later become the name of an entire nation. Flora Shaw's influence did not stop there. Her writing supported British colonial expansion, and she believed, like many people of her time, that British rule would bring order and development. This belief is now widely questioned, especially because colonial rule ignored local voices and caused long-term harm. Still, her ideas shaped British policy and public opinion. In 1903, Flora married Frederick Lugard, a key British colonial administrator. Together, they were closely connected to decisions that shaped the region's future. In 1914, Lugard oversaw the amalgamation of the northern and southern protectorates, officially forming modern Nigeria under British rule. Though Flora was not the one signing documents, her ideas, writings, and even the name she created were now firmly tied to the country's identity. Years later, Nigeria would fight for and gain independence in 1960, reclaiming its right to self-rule. The name Nigeria, first written by Flora Shaw decades earlier, remained. Today, it represents a proud, diverse, and powerful African nation of over 200 million people. Flora Shaw never lived to see an independent Nigeria, but her role in its early history is still remembered. Her story shows how words can shape history, how a single name written in a newspaper can become part of a nation's identity. While her legacy is complex and connected to colonialism, it also reminds us that history is shaped not only by battles and leaders, but by writers, ideas, and the power of language. This channel talks about the fallen heroes and the recent heroes of Africa. Please comment, like, for more African stories and for more African insights.